Croeso felly i'r Demlygydwch yng Nghaerdydd ac I Gymru yn gyffredinol i'r sawl sydd wedi dod o tu allan. My name is Stephen Thomas, Secretary of the United Nations Association Wales, and welcome to you all to this conference and to the splendid Temple of Peace building here in Cardiff. This building, of course, goes back to a pre-nuclear age. It was founded in 1938 and was initially the headquarters of the League of Nations Union in Wales. Ever since then, it has continued its tradition of internationalism and of discussing issues to do with peace, of the type that we will be discussing today. My duty is to give you some of the logistics before I invite Nick Wheeler, the director of the David Davis Memorial Institute, to set the scene for the day in a minute. Technology. There's a fair amount of technology on show, and so that you're not too overcome by it, let me point out that during the day there will be a photographer taking some action shots. There will be some filming by a TV crew. And we also have, throughout the day, a podcast. These are the cameras set up already, so that those who are unable to be here today can see and listen to proceedings anyway through the web. This event is organised jointly by ourselves, United Nations Association Wales, the United Nations Association UK, and the David Davis Memorial Institute. Should you need assistance during the day, do please seek out one of us, one of my colleagues. We're all tagged in a non-threatening way. Siobhan, Vanessa, Lucy, or Simona will be happy to help you, and similarly the staff from UNA UK are here to assist and to make the day go smoothly. That's it from the official angle. I'd now like to call Professor Nick Wheeler.
Thank you, Stephen. I'd like to begin by echoing Stephen's warm words of welcome. It's great to see so many of you here this morning. I'd also like to extend my thanks to the other organisers of the conference, Stephen Thomas and Charlotte Bevan from UNA Wales, and Sam Dawes, Veronica Lee and Tim Keller from UNA UK, and Will Bain, Deputy Director of the David Davis Memorial Institute, and Rachel Owen, the Institute's Programme Officer, for their contribution in making today possible. The timing of this conference, which grows out of the close partnership between the David Davis Memorial Institute and the United Nations Associations of Wales and the United Kingdom, is particularly propitious. As you will all be aware, the government has decided that there will be a vote early in the new year on the future of the UK's strategic nuclear deterrent. The government's position on this vital question will be set out in a white paper on Monday. And whilst there are many aspects of this decision, the one that is most relevant to today's meeting concerns the implications of this for the nuclear non-proliferation regime. To address this question and the nuclear future more generally, we have brought together a distinguished group of expert speakers from the world's policymaking and academia. As we will hear through the day, some argue that whether Britain has the bomb or not is irrelevant to the nuclear ambitions of states like Iran and North Korea. Indeed, it's argued that because such states cannot be diverted from the path of nuclear statehood, it's all the more vital that Britain stays in the strategic nuclear weapons business as the ultimate hedge against an uncertain world. The problem is that the ultimate logic of this argument is that no state can afford to be nuclear-free in a nuclear-armed world. And this, of course, is a recipe for a world of 30 or 40 nuclear weapon states, which few think would be stable, leaving aside the increased risk of nuclear terrorism in such a world. Dr. Hans Blix, the former UN weapons inspector in Iraq and chairman of the Commission on Weapons of Mass Destruction, argued in a speech in London earlier this week that it becomes extremely difficult for the nuclear weapon states to argue that others should give up the development of nuclear weapons when the 5 recognised nuclear weapon states under the 1968 Non-Proliferation Treaty are seen to be modernising their arsenals rather than seeking ways to disarm, as arguably required by Article 6 of the Non-Proliferation Treaty. The implication of Blitz's remarks is that a British decision to opt out of the strategic nuclear weapons business would have a positive impact on strengthening the nuclear non-proliferation regime. The validity or otherwise of this claim is one I suspect we will return to in the course of the day. What is clear, as the North Korean nuclear test in October demonstrated, is that the NPT regime, which many argue has played a key role in holding back nuclear proliferation since its inception in 1968, faces considerable challenges in the years ahead. In the first session, we will hear about the challenges posed to states within the NPT like Iran, which is suspected of seeking nuclear weapons, North Korea, which withdrew from the NPT and now has tested a nuclear device, and the spread of enrichment and reprocessing technologies to a growing number of states within the regime. The latter risks a nuclear future in which an increasing number of states could develop nuclear weapons should the political decision be taken to do so. Regimes prosper when their members believe that others are committed to their norms and rules. But if states come to think that others might be planning to develop nuclear weapons, such uncertainties about the future motives and intentions of others could lead to hedging strategies, leading to a self-fulfilling prophecy of regime breakdown. Given these uncertainties, the second session seeks to explore the possibilities for strengthening the norms and rules of the regime. Here we are interested in examining how far the International Atomic Energy Agency, which has responsibility for ensuring that there is no diversion of nuclear materials for weapon purposes, and the United Nations Security Council might work together in preventing future proliferation. How far can the threat of sanctions work in preventing proliferation, for example? Or will the Security Council prove unable to reach a consensus on enforcement in cases such as Iran and North Korea, feeding the concern that the non-proliferation regime cannot constrain determined proliferators? Others will argue that enforcement would only serve to escalate tensions, and that the way ahead is to search out a new dialogue with states like Iran and North Korea. The final session seeks to reflect on the possibilities for making the NPT work in the 21st century, and returns to the question of what role Britain might play in strengthening the regime in the years ahead. Through its research and public education activities, the David Davis Memorial Institute, which is part of the Department of International Politics at Aberystwyth, is committed to raising awareness of the important challenges to global security and the possibilities of addressing these through international cooperation. One of the key goals of the Institute is to bring together policymakers, officials, NGOs, academics and the wider public to share different views and perspectives. Today's conference, in conjunction with UNA Wales and UNA UK, is an excellent example of what the Institute tries to achieve in this regard. It is also particularly apposite that we should be holding this event in the Temple of Peace, this wonderful building, since it was Lord Davis who, as Stephen said, founded the Temple of Peace and Health in 1938 as a symbol of Welsh internationalism. The matters we are discussing today, the control, reduction and even elimination of the most destructive weapons humanity has invented, was the driving spirit that motivated Lord Davis to set up both the world's first Department of International Politics in Aberystwyth in 1919, and the decision some 20 years later to build a Temple of Peace and Health here in Cardiff. Before passing the baton over to Lord Hannay, Chair of UNA UK, I would like to say how delighted we are that he is here to introduce the first session. Lord Hannay brings to these issues unrivaled experience at the highest levels of international diplomacy, having served as the United Kingdom's permanent representative to the United Nations and, more recently, a member of the Secretary-General's High-Level Panel. Lord Hannay.